What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Married at First Sight Decision Day. I had my predictions, and out of the four couples that still remained on the show, I only got one right. I'm so bad at this. But I was wrong in a good way, because if I was wrong in predicting whether or not people stayed together and they ended up staying together, that's okay with me. So let's start off with Jasmina and Michael, our very first couple. This was my favorite couple the whole entire season. I really, really loved this couple. I loved Jasmina. I thought she was just so beautiful, so elegant. I thought she was just so level headed and so calm. I liked how she really she used her head more than she used her emotions and her heart when it came to certain situations. What I mean by that is that she never really flew off the handle. She was always cool, calm, and collected. I want to be Jasmina when I grow up. I want to be the kind of person where I'm always in control of my emotions and I don't flip out and I don't easily get angry, and just always just kind of staying in control of my emotions. Now, maybe that kind of worked to her detriment because of the fact that she was always so controlled. She never really got loose with the physical aspect of their relationship. So, up until decision day, she still had not felt any romantic connection with Michael. She's always struggled with that. It seemed like to me, and I could have misunderstood, but it seemed like to me what kind of killed the romanticism on her part was in the very beginning of their marriage when they were struggling and they were getting into these fights and these blow ups and everything. I think that kind of tainted any kind of romantic notion that she could have developed for him. It's like that the way he first came across to her kind of killed it, because she would always talk about how she never liked how he talked to her. She didn't like his tone. And so that right there probably kind of stunted any kind of romantic growth that she could have had for him. And it just stayed on throughout the marriage. So I had predicted that Jasmina and Michael would not stay together because she was struggling with feeling romantic towards him. They were not being intimate. She had no curiosity, no interest, nothing about being intimate with him. And so I thought that was going to kill it. But they ended up staying together. They both said yes. And I was really shocked because I remember her saying that she would say no on decision day if she did not have a romantic connection with him, if she didn't have any romantic feelings for him. So I was surprised that she ended up saying yes with no romantic feelings. Now, they did talk about how he had accidentally touched her butt while he was asleep, and she was aware of it. So the next day she told him about it, and he had no idea because he was asleep. So Pastor Cal kept on pressuring her to give an answer as far as, okay, so when he did that, how did that make you feel? Like, were you okay with that? Or were you completely offended by that? And she kind of like beat around the bush a little bit, but I think she ended up saying that, it was fine with her. It was okay, but she wasn't like, oh yeah, I liked it. But at least it wasn't, yeah, I felt really violated and offended and he shouldn't have, or whatever. So at least she didn't say anything really bad about it, but it wasn't like she was like, yeah, it felt kind of good. I didn't mind. I wanted a little bit more. It wasn't even like that at all. So I don't know. Michael talked about how being with Jasmina has helped him open up more. He had never felt like he could be this vulnerable with someone, so she taught him how to be more vulnerable. So Jasmina was really, really good for Michael. Now, is Michael really, really good for Jasmina? I think so. I think so. I think he does, care for her deeply. I think that he's very protective of her. Yeah, the way he looks at her sometimes, I feel like he really does love her. Like he looks at her really deeply, really intensely. I like those moments throughout the season and even on decision day when they have those moments where they kind of just like will lock eyes and just like really stare deeply into each other's eyes. So I think that there is something there. I just don't understand why Jasmina can't get to where she needs to get romantically. So yeah, they both decided to stay together. I was so, so, so happy when they made that decision because this has been my favorite couple and I was rooting for them the most out of all the couples on this season. This is the couple that I rooted for the most. So I was really happy that I got that wrong, and they decided to stay together. So Katina and Olajuwon, Dr. Viviana, before they came out, Dr. Viviana was telling her co-host that she always felt like Olajuwon was constantly putting Katina through these little tests to see if, she was wifey material for him. And I felt the same way throughout the whole season. He was constantly testing her, testing her, testing her. They also talked about how Olajuwon was very critical of Katina, and I also agreed with that as well. So as soon as Olajuwon walked onto the set, he seemed like he was on the verge of tears. He seemed really emotional. Katina comes out. She was looking really pretty. She sat down next to him. They asked him, well, how does he feel about seeing her? And he says he felt really good about seeing her. And he said that, seeing her always puts a smile on his face, which I thought was really sweet. Olajuwon knows how to be romantic and he knows how to say the right things. But then it's kind of like overshadowed when he gets kind of crazy. So they talked about the gondola ride, how that was really important to him because it showed how much Katina cared for him. They both agree that their closeness has grown. The holding off on the intimacy, they both are sticking to their story that they were never intimate. And Olajuwon said that he did this on purpose. He didn't want to be intimate with her until they had a much deeper connection, until I think he used the word spiritual. He wanted to get to know her on a spiritual level. So he said that if they had been intimate, it would have killed all of that. And the relationship could not have lasted as long as it did. So, which to me, I don't think like a man, so I really didn't understand. Like, if this is your wife and you care for her very deeply and you love her, why would being intimate all of a sudden change the way you perceive her? Like all of a sudden she's going to be just another chick, to add to your roster just because you slept with her. This is a different situation. So even if you were intimate with her early on, couldn't you still kind of like maybe at that time he didn't have any feelings for her. Maybe that's what he was trying to say. Like, I didn't have that connection with her. And if we would have slept together early, it would have killed everything. But because they developed a connection, when they do decide to get together, it's going to be completely different than it ever was with any other female for him. So, okay, fine. I'll buy your story that y'all were never intimate. Olajuwon says he wanted to do something different this time. He didn't want to treat her like he treated every other chick in his life. And as far as their future, the scheduling part, Katina, she's easygoing, she's flexible, she still wants to accomplish her dreams, she still wants to accomplish her goals as far as finishing school, starting her career, and no matter what goes on, she doesn't see anything stopping that. Olajuwon is the one that had an issue with, can you handle everything together? Can you be a wife and be a mom and be a student and start your career? Can you juggle all of these balls in the air simultaneously? And of course, if she wants to, if she puts her mind to it, of course she can. So they talked about children. Katina said that she did think about having kids in 2 years, but she's not hard pressed about it. She said that, in 2 years' time, they can revisit the whole kid situation and see where they are in life and where they are in their relationship. And if it's feasible, they'll start having babies. If not, they'll wait. She has no problem waiting longer than 2 years. As far as Olajuwon being as traditional as he is, he's sticking to that. That's not going to change. He says that when he comes home from work, he wants to make sure that the food is ready, the kids are fed, he's fed, and they all go to bed. So that's really important to him. Olajuwon seems like he can love hard, but he can also be very, very strict and rigid and like a really strict disciplinarian. I kind of see him being that way with his children. Like, he will love his children to death. There's nothing in the world he wouldn't do for them, but I think when it comes to like discipline, he might be like one of those really strict ones. So as far as the cooking, he says that Katina can't cook. And so the experts try to laugh it off to kind of lighten the mood because he kind of said it very seriously. He was like, no, she can't cook. And Pastor Cal was like, you kind of have to watch your words, Olajuwon. And he said her food is not edible. It's not edible at all. I can't eat it. And I was just like, God damn, Olajuwon, wow. Okay. So he was serious about that. So Katina, girl, you're going to have to take some lessons, watch some TikTok videos, download some recipes. Girl, you need to take care. If you want to stay with this man, you need to take care of that cooking thing and make sure that you turn into a gourmet chef on top of everything else that you are trying to do with your life. You need to add gourmet chef to the list. So, I got the feeling that the experts probably would not have minded if they chose to not stay together, because unlike with Jasmina and Michael, where Pastor Cal was really like using words of encouragement, using words of persuasion with Jasmina and Michael to stay together, he didn't do that with Katina and Olajuwon. He was just like, okay, it's time to make your decision. And it seems like if they would have said no, Pastor Cal would have been okay with that, because I feel like maybe they felt like Olajuwon may not have been such a good match for Katina. Katina is good for Olajuwon. I don't know if Olajuwon is good for Katina. So they decided to stay together. I had predicted that they would not stay together because I didn't even think Olajuwon liked black girls. But evidently he loves this one. So they decided to stay together, and good luck, Katina. Good luck, Katina, to all of that. Noi and Steve. So Noi and Steve, Noi talked about how she felt really safe around Steve. She felt like she can be herself. She can open up to him. She can express herself around him, which she hasn't felt that way with a partner in a very long time. And that is a very important feeling. If you're with someone that can make you feel like you can completely let loose, totally be yourself, if you're goofy, if you're dorky, if you're quirky, if you're weird, and you can be your weird self around your partner and they're okay with it, that is a win-win to me. So as far as household responsibility, she feels like because she's the one that works and he doesn't have a job, he should do all the housework. He feels like, I'm still contributing financially, so why would I have to do all the housework? It should still be 50-50. So they're going to have to work on that. They talked about him having a job. They didn't go into too much depth with that, so I don't know exactly where they are with that. But Pastor Cal did ask Steve, well, how do you feel whenever Noi talks about you not having a job? And he says that it makes me feel like she doesn't really believe in me, that she really doesn't see my potential. So yeah, she didn't really say too much about that as far as like he needs to get one or I'm cool with how it is now. So I don't know. But they did say yes. I predicted that they would say no for two reasons. Number one, Steve didn't have a job, and that was really important for him to have a job. Number two, she wanted to live separately. I thought she wanted to live separately because she talked about keeping her apartment. So I thought she wanted to stay in her apartment, but still be married to him and still be with them, but just live in separate homes. They didn't talk about that either. So hopefully, I'm assuming that they are staying in the same home, but they decided to stay together. Lindsay and Mark. This is the only one that I got right. So Lindsay and Mark. Mark said that the last 2 weeks have been the most healthy for him with Lindsay. Lindsay said, nah, for me, it was really only the last week that I felt like it turned positive. So Lindsay came guns blazing. She was really after him on that social media. She was like, he's on social media way too much. He's always on his phone on social media. And then she talked about how whatever you do on social media, whatever you say about me on social media, trust and believe I will eventually find out because you're dropping all kinds of receipts everywhere. I have no idea what she was talking about. She said something about how he was complaining about her on social media and she ended up finding out about it and she didn't like that. I felt like she was just really insecure about the things that he may post on social media about their relationship. I don't know. They didn't go into too much detail about it. Mark doesn't really come across as the kind of guy that's on social media a lot, but evidently he is, according to Lindsay. And she talked about how she didn't like the fact that he uses a lot of filters. And that really bothered her that he uses filters or something. I don't know what was going on there. So she wants him to stop. Pastor Cal was like, you have to find some kind of balance. But, at the end of the day, Mark, you might just have to take an L on that. And I'm like, why would he have to take an L on that? This is 2022. This is what people do. People are on social media. This is what they do. Like, it's to kind of like telling someone, oh, you know what, that thing called a television? Yeah, you got to get rid of that. We don't watch TV around here. It's like, this is what people do. People are on social media. This is part of our culture. It's the fabric of our lives, like cotton. So how can you tell someone to stay off social? I don't get it. Now, you can tell them to slow it down if they're on it too much. And maybe you can talk about what's posted, but you can't be like, you can't be on social media at all. So that was weird. But this is the only couple that I got right. I predicted that they would stay together and they did say yes. And the reason why I thought they were going to stay together was because they're both very dysfunctional people. And so I thought that dysfunctionality is what bonded them and kept them together because even though they argue a lot and they're up and down with their relationship, I think that they're attracted to each other's craziness. So, but it could be very detrimental at the end of the day. But this is the only couple that I got right. Am I happy that they stayed together? Uh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So then there's the issue. Then they all got together. All the couples got together much later on another day. They all got together. They all met up for drinks to get caught up on who stayed together, who got a divorce. And Chris showed up. And I was like, oh, there's my boy Chris. And then Alyssa came. Okay. So Alyssa showed up and she's doing however she's doing. Who cares? Chris says that, things are looking up for him. He doesn't regret the experience at all. Everything happens for a reason. And now he's dating somebody and he's really happy. So they go down the line. Everybody said that they stay together. And I was expecting more information from Jasmina and Mike because I wanted to know, do they consummate their marriage? Does she develop romantic feelings for him? But that was not discussed at all. Olajuwon and Katina did consummate their marriage, and it was, they knocked it out the park. They're both very satisfied. And then Steve got down on one knee and he gave Noi a ring pop. And he says, I gave you a ring pop on our wedding day. So now we've come full circle. And he gave her another ring pop. And I thought that was so cute. But then he busted out with a little box, a little velvet box, and he opened it up and he upgraded her ring. And it was this beautiful diamond solitaire. And Noi completely broke down. She wasn't expecting it at all. It took her by surprise. And it was just really beautiful that he was willing to do this. What he lacks in employment, he makes up in just really being a good husband to her, really being there for her, really being dedicated to her and wanting to make her happy. So I know that he has money, a lot of money saved up, and he might even have some type of residual income coming in. So I hope that Noi is okay with that. I think if she does lay off on the whole job thing, as long as he's contributing financially to some point. But if she lays off on the whole job thing, he's probably going to eventually find it within himself, to get a job or to have some type of employment. So all in all, I don't count Alyssa and Chris. All in all, out of the four couples, I got one right, three wrong, but that's all good because all four decided to stay together. This is the first time that I think in a very long time, if ever, that the experts had just about everybody stayed together. In this case, it was 4 out of 5 couples decided to say yes. But the real test, the real deal Holyfield, the real marriage begins when the cameras are gone. So hopefully everybody is still together, but we will find that out on the official reunion. Thank you so much for joining me. If you made it this far, I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to rate the video on your way out. If you like this content, please subscribe. If you don't like this content, perfectly okay. No skin off my nose, but thank you for stopping by anyway, and I'll talk to you later.